Today's historic UFO hearing on Capitol Hill could have gone any of several ways. We could have seen a panel of skeptical lawmakers not taking these witnesses and whistleblowers seriously, but instead, we saw quite the opposite. A public forum, 3 credible military officials just describing what they saw with their own eyes in a congressional subcommittee that listened and asked pointed, directed questions right at the witnesses, all in the name of greater transparency, they say. The former fighter pilots who spoke today say what they witnessed was difficult even for them to believe.
You know, I'm not like a UFO fanatic. It's not me. But I will tell you that what we saw with 4 sets of eyes over a 5-minute period, still, there's nothing, we have nothing close to it. It was amazing to see. I told my buddy I wanted to fly it, but yeah, it's just an incredible technology.
We would see these objects being at 0.0 Mach, that's 0 airspeed, over certain pieces of the ground. So what that means, just like a river, if you throw a bobber in, it's going to float downstream. These objects were staying completely stationary in Category 4 hurricane winds. These same objects would then accelerate to supersonic speeds, 1.1, 1.2 Mach. And they would do so in very erratic and quick behaviors that I don't have an explanation for.
Okay, I want to bring in Nick Pope now. He is a former UFO investigator for the British Ministry of Defense. Also James Fox, a UFO investigator and filmmaker. Nick, let me start with you. You know, you heard Fravor there saying that he is not a UFO fanatic. I think most people would agree that these were credible witnesses, high-level government people within the military. I asked this question at the beginning of the show, and this is kind of the way I go into any story, not just UFO stories. You try to judge people's credibility. I can't figure out why they would be lying, what purpose they would have to be making all this up.
There's no purpose at all, and indeed it would be a criminal offense. I mean, they are under oath before Congress. These are people with little to gain and everything to lose by speaking out like this. And these are witnesses of incredible integrity and credentials. And, you know, it reminds me back when I was investigating UFOs for the Ministry of Defense in the 90s, I would often go to training courses, and Air Force people would come up to me. They would tell me their stories, and I would say, I'll dig out your report for you. And they would look a little bit sheepish and say, well, I didn't make one because of the fear of ridicule. Because one guy said to me, I didn't want to be known as Flying Saucer Fred for the rest of my Air Force career. This is what these people have had to contend with. And so full marks to them for stepping up to the plate and changing the conversation.
James, where do you think this all goes from here? Because obviously so much of this is top secret. They made that clear in the hearing. There are things that they wouldn't talk about in the hearing, that they have to go into like a closed door skiff, which is one of those rooms where you can't bring your cell phone in and you discuss confidential matters. I mean, do you think we're going to learn more, James, or is it possible that, you know, these committees learn more, but the public never really finds out?
No, we were approaching a turning point in the last 5 years, and today I watched just in absolute awe of the setting, the impeccable credentials, the level of credibility, the curiosity and the intelligent questions, the bipartisan participation and respect. It was so refreshing. I just sat there in awe. And I remember having this conversation about disclosure with Nick Pope back in 2008 when there was leaks. There was an effort to release documentation, previously classified documents. And I said to Nick at the time in England, do you anticipate any kind of disclosure? He said, think of disclosure with a small d, drip, drip, drip. Today was a deluge.
But it was stuff that we already had heard, in a sense. I mean, the pilots had shared their stories before. I think what makes it so significant, though, is, I mean, this is a congressional hearing. It's on the record. It's under oath, as you're saying.
Oath, and I think we need to pay special attention to the ICIG, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, Thomas Monheim. And I'm told that he has been 11 hours of meetings with Mr. Grush, and he's provided the names of the organizations, the names of the programs, the location of the programs, where this stuff is. He's also going to meet with members of Congress and the Senate Intel, and he's going to be this is not a story that's going to go away. I can assure you of that.
And there was one little nugget within the hearing that I don't think a lot of people picked up on because there was so much explosive stuff that you could latch onto. But David Grush said that one of his colleagues with direct knowledge of the crash retrieval program, who had actually seen the craft, had submitted a confidential document to the Inspector General. That was new to me, which would mean the Inspector General, Nick, has a firsthand account and a name of someone willing to put their story out there.
So
absolutely. What happened today is there was a trail of breadcrumbs laid so that Congress can follow. Obviously, David Grush and the other witnesses have to be very careful. But I think clearly conversations have gone on behind closed doors between some of these witnesses and the staffers. And a strategy has been formulated, which we saw unfold today, whereby some of this information can be unpacked in a way that it doesn't compromise David Grush, who has to tread very carefully here.
Yeah, I mean, he's received death threats. Many of them have, and that's a very real thing. Nick Pope, James Fox, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We really, really appreciate it.